Hi everybody, I am coming at you today from Matthew chapter 2. I'm very excited about it. It is the story of the birth of Jesus. So let's dive in. So before we dive into what the meat of the message is, I want to just shout out Mary and Joseph really quickly. A lot of times it's really easy to just be like, wow, Mary carried the Son of God and Joseph was there too. But in this time, it was actually, I can only imagine the difficulty of making this decision, because in that time, being an unmarried woman, pregnant, people were about to talk some poo about our sister Mary and about Joseph for staying with her. So that's why the angel comes and is like, hey, this baby is of the Lord. He's going to be a savior, blah, blah, blah. And Joseph, don't leave her. Stay with her. Because Joseph was about to leave her in secret to not bring shame upon her, but he didn't really know what else to do, because you don't do that in these times. That is not something that is looked upon with any sort of grace, and they were definitely going to be outcasted and treated differently in their town. So they had to come and be reassured by the angels, which is awesome. But yes, shout out to them for that. I feel like a lot of times people forget how hard that really was for them. It's easy to read it, but really putting in context the times they were in. So yes, anyways, chapter 2 actually doesn't contain the birth of Jesus, now that but before that was the birth of Jesus. So we have baby Jesus. Chapter 2, the visit of the Magi to baby Jesus, where he was born. It starts talking about how King Herod was jealous. Basically, all of this scheming to get Jesus killed came from jealousy. And in verse 4, it talks about, let me rewind. So it says, I'll read it. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, where is the one who's been born King of the Jews? We saw a star in the east and now have come to worship him. And when King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all of Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Christ was to be born. In Bethlehem in Judea, they replied, for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come the ruler who will be the shepherd of my people Israel. So Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to do a full search of the child, and he said, as soon as you find him, report him to me so that I may go worship him. Full of doo-doo. That is definitely not why he wanted to know, okay? So I wrote down that even as king, he needed to call upon the chief priests and teachers of the law to teach him about the prophecy of God, of Jesus being fulfilled. And I just thought, that's just a little nugget that I got from it, because he is king and now he's jealous of this other king who was born, King of the Jews. He's like, what do you mean? I am King Herod, how dare you, peasant? No. So I wrote that down, that in his moment of jealousy, because he's the king and what do they mean there's another king born, he still had to seek help in other people to even get his plan that was birthed out of jealousy in motion. So I just kind of wrote that down as kind of like I don't know, maybe it was just a petty dagger of mine to throw in there. Anyways, verses 7 through 12, it starts with Herod asking when the exact time the star appeared. And at first I was like, that's really weird. Why does he need to know that? But if you read later on, it actually guides him in the assignment to have all the boys, baby boys under the age of 2, killed. according to the timeline of when Jesus was born, knowing his birthday. And then by the time, which now we know was years later, he was like, okay, you know, we still haven't found them. Just kill all the boys who are under the age of 2. And we should have them covered, you know. So that's why he asked for the exact time of the star. The star appeared. And King Herod uses the star, or he tries to use the star to go and kill Jesus, or send people to go and kill Jesus. And I just got to thinking how the same star that Herod used to send the Magi to kill Jesus is the same star that God used to send the Magi to bring Jesus his gifts. So I realize now I phrased that funnily. Herod did not send the Magi to kill Jesus. He was going to use them to know where he is so that he could have him then killed or go kill him himself. But the Lord used that same star to bring all of these gifts to Jesus. So I would just thought, isn't it so true of our walk with Christ in the same way that God will take things that the enemy means for bad and turn them for good? So, point number 1, the same star that triggered Herod into this mass massacre is the same star that God will use to bring about and reveal the calling of why Jesus came in the first place. Now follow me here. So, how does them bringing him gifts reveal his calling? They bring gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And I thought, okay, you know, there's definitely significance to this. Some way, somehow. So, once the star led them to Jesus, Jesus got 3 gifts. Gold, representing kingship on earth. Frankincense is the symbol of deity. And myrrh, which used to be used as embalming fluid, represents death. So, God used that star to bring to his son the promise of the prophecy over his life, that he would have kingship on earth, whether he was always regarded in that way or not. That is the power and position that he held and holds on earth. So all his time here, he has kingship and deity. The frankincense, God said that you're still a part of me and the Holy Trinity, so you are also like God, representing his deity. So his place also in heaven and in the Trinity. So kingship on earth, his position in heaven as God, being God-like, being from God, and myrrh, representing death. God said that you will die in fulfillment of prophecy. The purpose you were born this night is going to be fulfilled. And it just reminded me of how from the moment you're born, he knows you. And it just really sealed that in for me. And I just think that love and intentionality of God is just so good. And in all the little details, it's not going to be easy. It's not always going to be easy. There will be things formed against you. There will be obstacles that may not even be from the enemy, that the Lord just needs to shape you in certain ways. They'll come in different forms. They'll come for different purposes, to shape you or to strengthen your faith or anything. But the same thing that blesses you may be the same thing that brings you hardship. But trust in the plan that he has for you, because there is one. After the Magi left, the Lord told Joseph to get Mary and Jesus and leave. The hard times might be coming for you. The Magi came. They were going to go back and tell Herod where he was. But that's when the Lord appeared to him and said, move. You have to move. You and your family have to go because they're coming. So even when those hard times come for you, the Lord sees you, and if you are tuned into his voice and always with him, and his presence will warn you and tell you where to go next. The hard times might be coming for you, but God sees you first. He saw you first. In your mother's womb, he saw you. This entire story of the angel appearing to Mary, being formed in the womb, God knew what was coming for Jesus. He knew, he had it all mapped out, to even the gifts that were brought to him the night of his birth. And just always remember that even from your birth, you have these gifts set apart inside of you for what you're going to do for the kingdom of heaven. And God will use you, and he will protect you. And when hardships come, because they will, he will get you through them too. And remember that sometimes the thing that is used to propel you into what the Lord has for your life might also be the thing that brings hardship. So be sensitive to the Spirit, because a lot of people might feel like, oh, it's not for me if it's not easy to get through. That's not true. If you know the calling God has on your life, and you know that it's something you have to walk into, don't let obstacles stand in your way. Whether they are a sign of the Lord to strengthen your faith or sent in by the enemy to cause you to stumble, you hang on tight. You stand firm in your faith and know that the Lord is bringing you to it. He's going to bring you through it, and the things you're going to see that come of it are just going to be amazing. And that was just the beginning of the story of Jesus, and we already know what happens after that. So I just wanted to encourage you with that today, that even the little details from the very beginning of the life of Jesus are reminders that God sees us from the very beginning, and he sees all the little details and all the hardships, and he's there to help us dodge bullets or to help us slice in midair. So yeah, thank you guys.